Kevin earns $82,000 a year.
Yes.
Thomas earns $78,000 a year. Kevin has $4,200 in savings, $8,900 on a credit card, and a 401k he set up at onboarding and has never looked at since. Thomas has $340,000 in net worth, zero consumer debt, and an investment account that has been growing automatically every single month for 7 years. They are both 41 years old. They live in the same city. Kevin earns more than Thomas. The gap between their financial positions is not income, it is 5 specific habits that Thomas has and Kevin does not. This video names all 5 of them, shows you exactly what each one looks like in real life with real numbers, and gives you the specific action step for each one at the end of every section. After each habit, so that by the time this video finishes, you already know the first move for every single habit we cover. Kevin is not bad with money. He is not reckless or irresponsible or financially ignorant. He earns $82,000 a year. He covers his bills. He has a life that looks completely normal from the outside. The problem is not what he is doing wrong. It is 5 specific things he is not doing at all. Thomas does all 5 of them. He has done all 5 of them for 7 years. And the financial gap between them right now, at age 41, on very similar incomes, is $336,000. That is what 5 habits applied consistently over 7 years produce. Let me show you exactly what those 5 habits are. Before we get into the habits, if you are new here, this is Capital Notes. We publish one practical personal finance video every other day. Subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss the next one. Now let us get into it. Habit 1. Automate the important decisions. Thomas does not decide to save money every month. He decided once, 7 years ago, to set up an automatic transfer of $400 to his savings account, $300 to his investment account, and $200 as an extra payment on his credit card, all leaving his checking account on the same day his paycheck arrives. He has never had to remember to do it. He has never had to feel motivated to do it. It runs whether he is focused or distracted, whether the month has been stressful or easy, whether he wants to or not. The system runs. Thomas adjusts the amounts once a year when he reviews his finances. Everything else happens automatically. Kevin saves when he remembers to, and when there is money left at the end of the month. There is usually not much left at the end of the month. This is not because Kevin spends too much on obvious things. It is because the money finds a way to get allocated before he gets around to moving it somewhere intentional. The car needs something. A friend's birthday comes up. An unexpected bill arrives. None of these are catastrophic individually. Together they consume the margin that Kevin intended to save, month after month, for 6 years. The difference between Kevin and Thomas is not willpower or discipline. Thomas removed the need for willpower by making the decision once and automating the outcome. Kevin tries to make the decision every month, and the decision keeps not getting made. The research on this is specific. A 2019 study by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that people who set up automatic savings transfers save an average of 81% more per year than people who save manually with the same stated intention to save the same amount. The gap is not knowledge, it is not motivation, it is the structure of the decision. Automatic transfers work because they remove the decision from the moment when competing demands make it hardest to execute. Action step for Habit 1. This week, set up one automatic transfer to leave your checking account on the day your paycheck arrives. The amount does not matter yet. It can be $25. The point is that it runs automatically before you have a chance to spend it. Every paycheck from this point forward, that amount moves without you doing anything. Start this week. Habit 2. Track net worth as the only score that matters. Most people measure their financial life by 2 numbers. How much money came in this month and how much went out. These are the wrong numbers. They tell you how much you earned and spent. They do not tell you whether you are getting richer or poorer. The only number that tells you that is net worth. Everything you own minus everything you owe. Thomas checks his net worth on the first Saturday of every month. He updates every account balance in a simple spreadsheet that takes him 40 minutes. He can see immediately whether his financial position improved or declined since last month. He makes decisions based on that number. Kevin has never calculated his net worth. He knows roughly what he earns and roughly what he spends. He does not know whether he is building anything. Marcus is 35 and earns $110,000 a year as a sales director in Chicago. He drives a BMW, lives in a premium apartment, and takes 2 international holidays a year. His net worth is $14,000. Elena is 35 and earns $67,000 a year as a school administrator in the same city. She drives a 6-year-old Honda and takes 1 domestic holiday a year. Her net worth is $148,000. Marcus earns 64% more than Elena. Elena is worth 10 times more than Marcus in actual financial terms. Marcus is tracking the wrong number. He knows his salary. He does not know his score. Elena knows her score. She adjusts her decisions based on it every month. When you track net worth monthly, every financial decision changes meaning. Buying a car on finance is not just a monthly payment. It is a visible reduction in your score. Paying off a credit card is not just eliminating a debt. It is a measurable increase in the number you track. The number creates a feedback loop between what you decide today and what your financial position looks like next month. People who track net worth consistently make better financial decisions, not because they know more, but because the scoreboard makes the consequences of each decision visible in real time. Action step for habit 2. Calculate your net worth today. Open a notes app or a spreadsheet. Write down the balance of every account where you hold money: savings, checking, investments, retirement accounts. Write down the balance of every debt: credit cards, car loan, student loan, anything you owe. Subtract the total debt from the total assets. That number is your starting score. Write it down with today's date. Recalculate it on the first day of next month and compare. Habit 3. Invest before you feel ready. Thomas opened his first investment account at 27, with $75 a month. He had credit card debt at the time. He had a thin emergency fund. His budget was tight. He opened it anyway because someone told him that the cost of waiting was not measured in what you failed to save, but in what the money you failed to invest failed to grow into. That $75 a month at 27, growing at 7% annually for 38 years, will be worth approximately $197,000 by the time Thomas is 65. If he had waited until 35, when his finances felt more stable, and invested the same $75 a month for 30 years, it would be worth $91,000. The 8 years he did not wait are worth $106,000. He did not have a lot of money at 27. He invested anyway. The specific amount he invested at 27 matters far less than the fact that he started. Kevin has been meaning to open an investment account since he was 29. He is now 41. He has not opened one, not because he forgot, not because he does not know it matters, because there was always something that needed to be sorted out first. The debt needed to come down. The emergency fund needed to be bigger. The right time never quite arrived. The right time does not arrive. It is created by the decision to start, regardless of whether the conditions feel right. Kevin has lost 12 years of compound growth on money he never invested. At his income level, that represents approximately $85,000 in foregone account growth at conservative estimates. That is the price of waiting for the right time. Jerome is 27 and earns $48,000 a year in his first professional role in Atlanta. He has $3,800 in credit card debt and a monthly budget that does not leave much room. 6 months ago, he opened a Roth IRA and set up a $75 automatic monthly contribution into a broad index fund. He does not check it every week. He has not increased the amount yet because the budget is tight. But the account exists, the contributions run automatically every month, and the compound growth that will accumulate over 38 years will be worth more to his retirement than almost any other financial decision he makes in the years ahead. He did not wait until everything was sorted out. He will be very glad he did not. Action step for habit 3. Open an investment account this week. Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab all have 0 account minimums and free index fund options. The links are in the description. Set up an automatic monthly contribution of whatever amount fits your budget right now. It can be $50. It can be $25. The amount matters less than the fact that the account exists and the contribution runs automatically. Do not wait until the debt is gone or the emergency fund is bigger. Open it this week. Before we get to habit 4, I need to tell you something about habit 5. Habit 5 is the one that most people have never heard described in practical terms. Every personal finance channel talks about the idea of it, but nobody actually tells you the specific thing you do differently every time you make a financial decision. When I show you what habit 5 looks like on a Tuesday afternoon, when Kevin and Thomas are both about to make the same spending decision, the gap between their outcomes will make complete sense in a way it probably has not before. Stick with me for the next 10 minutes. Habit 5 is worth it. Habit 4. Protect the downside before chasing the upside. Thomas keeps $5,000 in a high-yield savings account that he does not touch unless something goes wrong. He calls it the friction account. Before he touches any long-term investment, before he chases any return, before he makes any move that involves risk, he makes sure the money in that account is enough to cover the most likely things that could go wrong in the next 6 months. His car, his health, his home, his job. He does not think of the $5,000 as savings. He thinks of it as the thing that stops a bad month from becoming a bad year. Priya had her car break down last November. The repair cost $1,400. She had a $2,500 emergency buffer. She paid the repair in cash. Her emergency buffer went from $2,500 to $1,100. She rebuilt it to $2,500 over the next 3 months by temporarily increasing her automatic savings transfer. Her investment contributions were not interrupted. Her credit card balance did not change. Her monthly budget was not disrupted. The $1,400 repair cost her $1,400 and nothing more. Her neighbor, who earns more than Priya, put the same repair on a credit card at 21% interest and is still carrying most of that balance 6 months later. The repair cost her neighbor $1,400 plus approximately $210 in interest so far and climbing. 2 people, same car repair, completely different financial outcomes. The difference was not income, it was one had a buffer and one did not. The buffer is not the end goal. It is the thing that makes every other financial goal possible without being constantly derailed by normal life events. A car breaks down, a medical bill arrives, a month of work is disrupted. These things happen to everyone, at every income level. The people who build wealth are the ones who have a specific amount set aside that absorbs these events so that the long-term plan keeps running. Kevin has no buffer. Every unexpected expense goes on the credit card. Every credit card addition reverses some portion of the progress he has been making. The buffer is the first thing Thomas built before he did anything else financially ambitious. It is the reason everything else has been able to keep running for 7 years. Action step for habit 4. Set a specific buffer target this week. If you have nothing saved right now, the target is $1,000. If you have some savings, the target is 1 month of your essential expenses. Open a separate savings account, separate from your everyday checking account so you cannot easily spend it. Label it emergency buffer, and set up an automatic weekly transfer of whatever amount you can manage right now. The account is not for planned expenses. It is only for things that go wrong that you could not have predicted. Habit 5. Make every financial decision in writing before you make it. This is the habit that was teased earlier, and here is exactly what it looks like in practice. Thomas does not make any financial decision above $200 without writing it down first. Not a note to himself. An actual written analysis of 4 specific things. First, the total cost, including interest if he is financing anything. Second, what percentage of his monthly take-home income this represent. Third, what his net worth looks like after he makes this decision. Fourth, what he is giving up by spending this money rather than investing it or using it differently. He does this for car purchases, for holiday bookings, for subscription upgrades, for any expense that is not a fixed recurring bill he has already decided to pay. Writing it down does not mean he always says no. It means he always knows what he is actually deciding before he decides it. Kevin makes financial decisions the way most people do. He sees something he wants or needs. He checks whether he can technically afford the monthly payment. If the answer is yes, he usually goes ahead. He does not calculate the total cost of financing. He does not check what it does to his net worth. He does not consider what he is giving up. He considers one variable: can I cover the payment this month? That single variable decision-making is how Kevin ended up with a car loan, a credit card balance, and minimal savings on $82,000 a year. Not because he made one catastrophic decision, because he made dozens of single variable decisions that each seemed manageable individually, and together produced a financial position with very little room to build anything. Last April, both Kevin and Thomas were considering upgrading their laptops. Kevin saw one he liked for $1,400 with a financing option of $58 a month. He checked his budget, confirmed he could cover $58, and bought it that afternoon. Thomas saw the same laptop. He went home and wrote down 4 things. Total cost with financing, $1,638 over 24 months. Percentage of monthly income, 0.85% per month. Net worth impact, minus $1,638 in net liability immediately. What he was giving up, 24 months of that $58 invested at 7%, would be approximately $1,510 in future value. He bought a refurbished version of the same laptop for $780 in cash 3 days later. The decision took him 20 minutes of writing and saved him $858, plus the opportunity cost of the financed amount. Kevin made the decision in 5 minutes and will pay $238 more for the same category of laptop over 2 years. The habit is not refusing to spend money. It is knowing exactly what you are deciding before you decide it. Action step for habit 5. For the next 7 days, write down every financial decision you make above $50 before you make it. 4 lines only. Total cost, percentage of monthly income, net worth impact, and what you are giving up. You do not have to say no to any of them. Just write it down first. At the end of 7 days, you will have a clearer picture of how you actually make financial decisions than most people get from months of budgeting. Now let's have a recap of the 5 habits that have been discussed in this video. Habit 1. Automate the important financial decisions so they execute every month without requiring you to remember or feel motivated. Habit 2. Track your net worth on the first day of every month so you always know whether your financial position is improving or declining. Habit 3. Start investing before you feel ready, with whatever amount is available right now, because the cost of waiting is real and not recoverable. Habit 4. Build a specific cash buffer before you pursue any financial goal that involves risk, so that normal unexpected expenses cannot derail your long-term plan. Habit 5. Write down 4 specific things before every financial decision above $50, so that you always know exactly what you are deciding before you decide it. None of these require a high income. None of them require financial expertise. All 5 of them can be started this week with what you currently have. The next video in this series covers the financial mistakes that your parents and grandparents made that you are probably still paying for right now in ways you have never traced back to their actual source. It is the video in this series that most people say made them understand their financial situation for the first time. That video is already on this channel. The link is in the description and on the end screen. Subscribe to Capital Notes. New video every week. If you got something useful from this video today, the next one will build on it. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one.